I'm excited to offer you a special gift. If you're a U.S. resident, text FERTILE to 345-345. You'll be prompted to enter your email address and you'll receive our fertility yoga download. In this 20-minute intro video, we focus on a calming and peaceful practice to connect back to your heart. These simple fertility yoga poses can help quiet negative thoughts and make you feel more in control. Download it now and get started today. So for U.S. residents, text FERTILE, FERTILE, to 345-345. For non-U.S. residents, go to www.yogafreebie.com to access your special gift. That's www.yogafreebie.com to access the free fertility yoga download.
When you're at that point, it really feels like, okay, I don't know what to do at this point. I've done everything. And I find that often what the missing piece is, there's something deeper that you haven't connected to. And it's not something biological. It's not something physiological. It's something spiritual.
Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Clark, and my mission is to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Most of all, I want you to wake up. So with functional medicine, we can discover what causes infertility and eventually reverse the condition. Today, I'm welcoming Zahra Haji to the podcast today, and we're digging into the connection between the moon and fertility. Zahra Haji is a yoga goddess, yoga teacher, psychotherapist, and fertility coach who is passionate about restoring women's fertility naturally and getting your body ready for pregnancy. Zahra is also the creator of the #1 online fertility yoga program, Moon Goddess, practiced by women in over 25 countries who are trying to conceive. Moon Goddess is a cycle-harmonizing, fertility-enhancing yoga and meditation practice that improves a woman's chances of conceiving and carrying a healthy pregnancy by over 50%. To learn more about how Moon Goddess can help you conceive, visit Zahra's website at yogagoddess.ca. Before we jump into today's show, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this to make sure you never miss an episode. Hey, Zahra, welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you.
Thanks, Sarah. Nice to be here.
Yeah, excited. So if you could share your journey as to how you came to do this work.
Gosh, it's been a while. So it started about 10 years ago when I first discovered, I read a book called Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom by Christiane Northrup. A passage specifically in that book talking about how our female bodies are connected to the rhythms of the earth and most specifically the phases of the moon, and how our energy waxes into fullness like the full moon, which is the time of ovulation and like highest fertility. It's when we can, give energy to our dreams and create what we want in our life. And then there's a natural ebbing of the energy within our female bodies, like the fall and the winter or the waning of the moon, and a natural time to turn inwards and become reflective and become more insular and less social and wanting to be alone. And when I read that, I was kind of in a state of shock, like, why have I never come across this information before? Because it felt so accurate and it felt so profound in the way it explained how I felt as a woman, that, half the month I felt more energetic and outward and social, and my energy was more externally focused. And then suddenly I changed and I felt more antisocial and less wanting to be around people, and kind of thought that maybe I was totally crazy. So back then, I actually developed a workshop called I'm Not Psycho, I'm Cyclical, period. Because I really felt like, there's really vital information that's right there encoded in our bodies. And most women are totally unaware that it even exists. And so that's what brought me to this work, was my own journey of wanting to understand my own cycles. I also had period pain, like almost throughout my entire, as soon as I got my period, cramps. And I thought, why would we be designed in a way to suffer as women? I don't subscribe to that notion that periods are gross and women's sexuality needs to be policed. And there's all these negative messages that we've received over time, whether it's like from religion or family traditions or patriarchal ideas, that there's something inherently that needs to be fixed about women's bodies. And I thought, there's got to be some deeper answers here. And I was amazed to find so much rich information when we look at the connection between women's bodies, women's cycles, and the lunar phases, and how that actually relates to, the topic we're going to be talking about, which is fertility.
Mm-hmm. And how did you, and so then you started right into fertility then, or how did that start 10 years ago?
Yeah, so actually I designed actually it wasn't a fertility yoga program at that time, but I designed a yoga program specifically to work with the menstrual cycle and the moon. And what I found was women who were trying to conceive were at least 50% of the women that were signing up for my class. And it was surprising to me because these women were getting pregnant, and they were, while they were working on their relationship between their menstrual cycle through yoga and meditation, and connecting that with more of their feminine side, they were healing underlying reproductive health challenges like PCOS, like fibroids, like endometriosis, that there was something happening in that. There was some kind of repair that was happening that somehow wasn't being addressed when a woman is in that mode of trying to get it done, and stress hormones and cortisol flooding the system, and in that go do mode, which a lot of women are overly dominant in. And I consider that more the masculine mode of doing and being. And I believe that conception, it really happens in the feminine mode of receptivity, allowing and softening and surrendering. And that there really needs to be a deeper understanding of what the feminine is, because it's not weakness. It's not about surrender in that you let anything happen to you, but there is a way of working with the feminine that I find that a lot of women are kind of confused about. And when it comes to fertility specifically, it really works against you to be in that do, go, try harder, force it to happen mode. And that's what I've seen over the last decade with my clients, that once you turn that corner into understanding that it's a far greater relationship, it's not just biological, physiological creation. There is something much greater and deeper going on when it comes to conception, and to tap into and tune into what in yoga is called Mata Shakti, the feminine power of creation, is really profound and can heal in ways that is kind of beyond, I think, our regular human understanding.
Yeah, just to get into that piece, because a lot of people that come to us, or a lot of women that come to us, are the type A, driven, pushing, getting it done kind of woman, and then going in. So there's that piece of science and belief. Yes. Sometimes even saying the belief piece triggers people. You know what I mean? I'm just going to sit here and believe. That's not what we're saying. So it's like that, setting that intention and then surrendering to it, and but still, it's not doing, it's being, and being able to lean into that piece. Yeah, and so how do the cycles of the moon then help us lean into that feminine energy and help with fertility?
Yeah, it's such a profound shift, because like you said, that we're kind of it's almost promoted in our culture to be in that productive, like the more you produce, the more you achieve, the more you get done, the more value you have as a person. And women have really adopted that in a way that has served them career-wise and in accomplishing things, that where the more work you put in, the more you get out. But fertility is a different journey, and working with the feminine, I feel, is actually, it requires a shifting of how maybe you've been functioning in the world. And so the moon really gives us a powerful metaphor, and also like a real, you look in the sky and it's really happening. And when you look at the relationship between your cycle and the moon, you realize, wow, there really is something here. And in fact, a lot of women find me in my work because they realize, oh, I keep menstruating on a full moon, or I keep menstruating on a new moon, and they Google it and they realize, oh, okay, there is something here. So basically, those are the two main cycles that women have, either a red moon cycle, which is menstruating with the full moon, or a white moon cycle, which is menstruating with the new moon. And traditionally speaking, if you think of Ayurveda or Chinese medicine, we'll say, the more quote unquote fertile cycle is the one where you're menstruating with the new moon and ovulating with the full moon. And that's because if you think about the earth, there's something called biodynamic farming, and you may have heard of, that's practiced in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because, in fact, the earth, the physical earth, is more receptive and fertile and ready to, receive seeds during the full moon. So there are farming practices that actually follow this science of biodynamic farming. However, you can imagine there's millions of people on the earth who are also conceived when a woman is ovulating with the new moon and menstruating with the full moon. So it's opposite from quote unquote the fertility of the earth, but it doesn't mean that you can't be fertile if you're on a red moon cycle. So that's just something I like to clear up from the beginning. But in terms of leaning in to your feminine energy by understanding your relationship with the lunar cycles and your menstrual cycle, it comes with understanding that there's 4 different archetypal energies, just like there's 4 phases of the moon. There's the dark of the moon, when, there's like no moon visible in the sky, which is essentially the new moon. And then there's the crescent moon, which is when, like springtime, all of a sudden the ice starts to melt, and there's, kind of like a returning into the earth of life, essentially. So similar to the winter, which is like your period, menstruation, where everything kind of becomes still and dark, and there's no like real lot of energy there for a lot of us. There's just ideally quiet and stillness. That's the energy of menstruation, which a lot of women override to try and, continue to be productive and get things done. But essentially, similar to if you live in 4 seasons, the winter is designed to slow us down. It's designed to be a quiet time. It's designed to be a time of reflection, going inward, staying inside. Just like a lot of times when you have your period, especially if you have a heavy flow day, you want to be under the covers with the hot water bottle, snuggled, cuddled inside. So that's the energy of menstruation. It's designed to create that feeling inside. And then the pre-ovulation energy, there's an increasing energy, there's increasing mental clarity, there's a sense of like, whoo, I'm like back to myself again, and kind of a breath of fresh air like the springtime, and you're ready to go out there and conquer the world. And a lot of times that particular energy, the pre-ovulation energy, it's also akin to the time of your life of like, what archetypally is called the maiden, or I like to call her the go-getter. And it's, the time in your life when you're adolescent, when you're in your early womanhood, and it's freedom, and there's lots of energy, and it's excitement, and you're getting a lot accomplished, and you're doing a lot, and it's a very productive time, let's say. And then the full moon time, which is akin to your ovulation time and summertime, is like full blossom. There's so much warmth, there's light, there's a sense of like love and companionship and connection, wanting to be with friends, wanting to be outside. And that's like our ovulation time. Ideally, we want to be filled with love. We want to be creating from that place of connection and bonding and merging with the masculine, with the other. And that's like the summertime, the full moon energy. And then the waning moon, or our premenstrual time, which is a natural darkening time. So just like the moon starts to darken, so does a woman's nature. And there's a sense of, I feel irritated and agitated if people are asking me for a million things. I don't have as much energy. My energy is decreasing. I don't have as much bandwidth to listen to your problems. I'm focused on my own. So there's and that's because progesterone is rising in the body, and progesterone creates an environment of turning more inwards and slowing down and being more reflective and tired and needing more sleep and more rest. And so if we actually follow it's hormonal rhythms also match. So estrogen, as estrogen rises in the body, so does energy, so does literal energy. That's, the follicular growth of the egg and the follicle, and then that bursting of the follicle at ovulation, versus when the egg is now waiting, if it's fertilized, it's, in the womb nesting. And if it hasn't been fertilized, it's getting ready to release itself during menstruation. So the whole system is designed in this particular way of growth and then death, essentially. And that's the cycle of the female. But a lot of times what we end up doing is we want to only be in that growth, do, get everything done mode. And we deplete the energy of the entire system because there isn't time for that recuperation and rest and release and rebirth, which is really natural to a woman's cycle.
So you've got the dark moon, the crescent moon, the full moon, and the waning moon.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's easy to think of like the spring, the summer, the fall, and the winter in relationship to those phases.
Mm-hmm. And then as far as fertility, so you kind of sort of share with us how, we may be feeling based on our cycle through that. Anything else you wanted to share around the different phases of the moon and what we can do? I guess really a lot of it is becoming even aware of it. Sometimes we can look up in the sky and go, oh, okay. Or on the calendar it says, whatever it is with the moon. Like I didn't really even, to be honest, for years didn't really even pay attention to it.
Yeah.
The moon, I just did not pay attention to it. And now, becoming more aware of it. So how do we even get into that space if we're like, where's the moon? Oh, we see it. But yeah.
There is a practice that I like to recommend called moon cycle charting. So I have designed a little program that you can work with. It's called Moon Charting Mastery. And you can work with like looking at your cycle in relationship to the moon and actually tracking how you feel from day to day. And it really provides profound insights over, like, ideally, you want to chart for like 3 months or so that you can start to see what are the patterns that are happening for me. When does my energy grow? And when is it really good time for me to do creative endeavors? Or when is it a really good time for me to focus all my energy on a presentation or a project for work? When is it a good time for me to entertain? Or when is it a bad time for me to invite people over because I know I'm going to be in this more antisocial place and irritable place? So yeah, a big part of it is awareness. When it comes to fertility specifically, I find that this information is really valuable because you're often hyper-focused on ovulation and then sorely disappointed at menstruation.
Right.
So it's setting you up for this like black and white success or failure kind of experience. And what this model helps you do is realize, okay, there's much more happening here than just, ovulation and menstruation. That there's 4 different phases of the cycle, and the 4 different phases offer you opportunities for a different connection with yourself, but also with your partner. And so if you apply this information into like how you relate to each other, how you show up intimately So I have another program called Sensual Magic, which really helps women to tap into how to apply these feminine energies in terms of your relationship in the bedroom. And not just how you show up sexually, but how you show up intimately. So in terms of, the go-getter energy, that's a great time, not a great time for like deep conversations and sharing your intimate feelings, because you don't really have access to that. You're really in get it done, check off your checks on the, checklist kind of mode. And so, sex is fun when it's like quickies, and there isn't a lot of emotional connection, and it's flirty, and that's a different kind of energy. When it comes to ovulation, ideally you're out of that get it done mode and you're in a more loving place. You're more ideally connected to wanting to like cook and, maybe like send loving text messages, feeling a sense of like closeness and intimacy. It's more about sensual touch, massage. So there's a way that you use the energy of the cycle to actually enhance what's happening in your relationship life. And of course, don't we all want to conceive ideally from a place of love with your partner? And that really would be ideally what's informing your sexual relations if you're, in a male-female partnership, that it's coming from, conception is coming from that place of two people coming together to create this third expression of the love that you share. So you want to get into that place of the loving energy of ovulation. And so, one archetype name is the mother. In Sensual Magic, I call it the lover. And so when we tap into that archetype in ourselves, it makes it so much more enjoyable and, takes the stress out of baby making and brings the joy back, which is ideally what we want. And then premenstruation, which, is also called the 2-week wait for women who are trying to conceive, is often a really difficult time because you might have been feeling pretty positive because estrogen is rising in the first part of your cycle, and it's easier to be in a positive, optimistic place. But as soon as progesterone comes online and starts climbing higher than estrogen, it's harder to hold on to positivity, and there is a darkening even in our thoughts. And so this is a really important time to like nurture yourself through like a yoga practice and meditation practice, doing something that is nourishing and nurturing for you. It's self-care is really important during premenstrual or the 2-week wait, because there is this balance changing inside of your body. And of course, if you are, if there is a fertilized egg inside of your womb, don't you want to be focused more on nourishment and self-care and really kind of giving yourself love and care and whatever it is that you need? So whether that's time alone, whether that's, walks in nature, whatever it is, but there's this focus on nourishing and nurturing yourself and slowing down, and maybe even, focusing on your own relationship with your womb and what that means for you. So introspection, reflection, it's an ideal thing to be doing during that premenstrual 2-week wait. And then menstruation, it's a cleansing, it's a time of release, it's a letting go. So if you've been on a fertility journey for several years or several months, or you're just starting, oftentimes there's this idea that, okay, we failed. Now I have my period, another cycle wasted, another month that's gone by, and I'm still not pregnant. And what I feel like needs to happen is kind of redefine that relationship. The fact that you have a period at all means that you're still fertile and that you can still have a baby. And so how do we change that dialogue from one of failure and disappointment to one of, you know what, I still have a period, and my period gives me an opportunity to let go of what's no longer serving me. So what are the beliefs? What are the feelings that I don't want to be holding on to? Because I have an opportunity in the next cycle to begin again, to start fresh. So every month you have this opportunity for an internal, literally cleanse and redefining your relationship with your cycle and your womb. Because after all, it is your womb, and your menstrual cycle is essential to that relationship in order to be a healthy environment for conception and a baby to grow. And so don't you want to have a good relationship with your womb? Just like, if you had a friend that you come in, like maybe you have a 20-year friendship with someone, but then over the years, it's kind of like you've grown apart. You started to like see all the negative aspects of that person. You kind of don't really appreciate, or really, you think about the bad stuff rather than the good stuff. You're not going to call up this person after 20 years and say, hey, you know what? I'm moving and I really need your help. So I make this analogy because if you don't have a positive relationship with your womb and your menstrual cycle, if you, for example, were on the pill for 10, 15, who knows how many years, there's this sense of being alienated and disconnected and not really having a close relationship. To be asking for such a huge favor kind of feels odd to me. And so I think it's important that we reclaim our relationship with our cycles and our wombs from a place of appreciation, positivity, a sense of like, wow, this is amazing that this can even happen in my body, as opposed to, I expect you to function for me the way I want you to function for me. And if you don't, then that means you're not working and you're broken and you're, betraying me. And instead of that place of like angst and anger and frustration, if we can come back to a place of love and acceptance and surrender and softening and allowing, in my opinion, that's the energy from which conception can occur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so to kind of at each phase to look at this, I guess really to reframe the experience, to look at it differently.
Yeah.
And then with adding the partner into those different phases with the 2-week wait, menstruation, and ovulation, like are there things for the partner to do along there to be supportive and together on this journey? Because a lot of times it can be, men and women are handling the journey to conceive differently, and it may seem that the male partner is not even hurt by this, but they're just handling it differently, and they are having the strong feelings as well. But how would, in your essential magic thing you were talking there, your course, how would we sort of the partner then at each phase be able to join in?
Yeah, so I find that that's really key. And of course, the first step is for you as a woman to understand that this is even happening inside of you and that you have access to these 4 different phases and archetypal, feminine energies that you can connect with. And once you start to realize that you have access, then you can start to approach your partner with, knowledge about what's happening inside of you. Oftentimes, the partner is more aware than the woman herself that there's these shifts that are happening, and they happen every single month, and they can see it because they're from the outside looking in. And once you identify, I know that in the beginning of my cycle, I'm more like this. Oftentimes, unfortunately for women who have been on the fertility journey for a long time, ovulation doesn't lend itself well to feeling loving, intimate, close emotions. In fact, what's happened is that maiden phase has continued to override. And so you're still in that go, do mode. And a man kind of feels like he's being used for his sperm, essentially. And, some people feel like it's like I've donated my body to science while I'm still alive is an expression I've heard. Because it just feels like they're being used. And so when you start to consciously nurture your relationship from a place of connection and love and intimacy, it really shifts how your partner experiences this whole journey to conception. Because they're not going to be expressing themselves in the same way as you are. And females are often more in connection with their emotions. and want to be able to talk it out. And men are less able to, access emotions and talk at the same time. So you want to create an environment where you feel stable inside so that you can hold the space to have conversations where maybe you can be more present for your partner so that he can also share his emotional experience with you. And it can be an opportunity for connection. And then in terms of like after ovulation, that's also a time where we feel more vulnerable. And it's not just us likely that are feeling vulnerable, but our partners too, because it's the same feeling of, okay, what's going to happen this month? And so it's a really good time of your cycle to like go out for walks, do physical activities together where you can burn some of that energy, which can just turn into mental chatter. Have conversations where it feels like you can hold your own vulnerability and also ask for support. So while you're vulnerable, can your partner support you through that vulnerability? Because it is a vulnerable time, that part of your cycle. So, in Sensual Magic, for example, I talk about it, that energy is called the enchantress. So there's opportunity for magic there, but there's also there's also like the negative aspect, which is what I consider like the magical part is like the positive energy of the witch, but then the negative aspect of the witch, which in our culture is more like the bitch, is also very accessible during that time of the month. So when you're not pushing against how you're feeling inside, when you're not trying to override how you're feeling by forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do, or forcing yourself to be more in a thinking and analytical or like really lots of energy expending place, which is really the wrong time of your cycle to be pushing yourself, that's when aggravation, frustration, anger, irritation all comes up, because you're not honoring how you actually feel inside. And so when you're not honoring your own inner needs, how can you ask other people to support you? The first step is you're the one saying, okay, I realize that I'm feeling really vulnerable. I realize that what I need when I'm vulnerable is maybe just you to hold my hand and us to sit here quietly. Maybe it's I need to go for a walk in nature, and you need to find out what that is for you. Maybe it's I need to go and do a long yoga practice and really feel nourished and connected to my spirituality, because that becomes a higher need in the second half of your cycle. And menstruation, it can be a time where both people feel kind of at a loss. It is a natural time to grief. Like in any death, there is a grieving period. And the cycle, if you look at it, there's the beginning of life, when ovulate, like in follicular phase, and then ovulation is that bursting forward of life. And then the pre-menstruation phase is decay if there's no fertilized egg. And then there's death, literally, during the menstrual phase. So it's just like the seasons, and there's nothing negative about the life cycle. It is what it is. So instead of pushing against it and thinking of it as something negative, it's an opportunity for you to grieve and grieve together. Like there's an opportunity for closeness throughout this entire process. And we don't have to be a lone warrior on the fertility journey. We can enlist our partner as being the person who's literally by our side every step of the way. And if we can hold our emotional world with more skill and balance and love, then we can, in a way, model that to our partner. And because we know what we need, we can ask for what we need. And that's really essential when it comes to communication on the fertility journey.
And it really is going into this whole, getting into the flow.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
And
it's not just an idea, a concept. This is literally how you do it.
Mm-hmm. And so for each phase, being really aware of really what's happening, because I think a lot of times we're just on automatic pilot and thinking of these different things and forcing our way through it. And it's like, okay, listen, to honor what we need. And you talk about the cycle, the grief cycle too, honor kind of where you are in that. And out of that, the pushing, doing into the receiving, creating energy and the softening piece of things.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And then as far as anything on the different cycles for anything else for fertility that you wanted to share there?
What do you mean by different cycles?
Oh, sorry, with this, like with the different, so the dark moon, the crescent moon, the full moon, the waning moon, anything else you wanted to share with us as far as how we access that a little more, or what, anything else you'd like to share?
Well, part of what I like to share with my clients is these are really beautiful concepts, and it's easy to forget about them once we get back into our daily life. So when it comes to keeping it alive and active and staying connected with it, like I mentioned earlier, a practice of charting your cycle with the moon really helps us to connect in that way. Meditating. So I have audio meditations as well that allow you to meditate with the moon wherever you are in your cycle. So the idea is that obviously our cycle and the lunar cycle doesn't match up necessarily exactly. So just because it's a full moon in the sky doesn't mean you're ovulating. You want to know what your body is doing first, and then you want to see how that relates to what the moon is doing. So if you are menstruating and it happens to be close to the full moon, you would still listen to the audio meditation that's for menstruation and the dark moon, even though it's a different moon in the sky. And so it's really important to understand that the moon is more of a metaphor for what's happening inside your own body, and serves as kind of like a compass for you to understand that this flow is natural. Our feminine energy works in this particular way, similar to the ebbing and the waxing and the waning, of the moon. But what's most important is looking at where you are in your cycle. And then, like I said, I've designed a series of meditations that you can listen to based on where you are in your cycle and connect to those energies for yourself. And, taking it a step further in terms of fertility, I find that because most women on the fertility journey, by the time they find my work, they've often had several failed IVFs or miscarriages, and they're really kind of at a loss at this point. They've done acupuncture, they've done herbs, they have exhausted what they feel like are all the options in Western medicine. They've done extensive stuff in Eastern medicine. Maybe they've even seen a naturopath. They've gone to a functional medicine doctor. They've tried it all. And when you're at that point, it really feels like, okay, I don't know what to do at this point. I've done everything. And I find that often what the missing piece is, there's something deeper that you haven't connected to. And it's not something biological. It's not something physiological. It's something spiritual. And that's what my yoga program is designed to do, is to really help a woman embody the feminine from a deep place within herself. And it combines everything. It combines sensual magic. It combines charting your cycle with the moon, meditating with the moon, and a yoga practice that, of course, works at blood flow and circulation to the ovaries and the uterus, which is more at a physiological level, but also works with intention. And Kundalini yoga is at the core of the practice. And Kundalini yoga is a yoga that really connects you to the divine feminine and what I, referenced earlier, Mata Shakti, the mother energy of creation. And a lot of women don't really have much of a relationship to the divine feminine and kind of have lost faith in God and whatever that means, feeling abandoned, feeling like, what am I being punished for something that I've done? Maybe I had an abortion. And so now, this is what's happening to me. People make up all kinds of stories as to why, it's not working for them. And so we need something bigger than ourselves to hold us in those places. And so one of the things that I find particularly powerful in the work that, women who've come to me end up doing is this coming back home to themselves, feeling connected to a bigger power. And then from that place of reconnection, miracle pregnancies happen. I had one client who She spent $50,000 on IVF, IUI. She had 3 miscarriages. And in the end, she got pregnant with Moon Goddess in 3 months, naturally, and she carried to term. And she actually gave birth on Christmas Day. It's so beautiful. Like, and after spending all that money and all that time and doing all that work, for her, it was just coming back to herself and feeling good about her body and her womanhood and her femininity that gave her her baby.
And what's one step kind of into doing this? Is it, what would you recommend? The meditation to start with, or where would you kind of lean in? I obviously it's different for everyone, I think, but what's an easy step?
So, I mean, it could be as simple as starting to realize that your body is not broken and that there is space for you to change your relationship with how you're experiencing your cycle. And yeah, if you want to start with something as simple as moon meditations, meditating with where you are in your cycle and the lunar energy that goes with that, or if you want to start charting your cycle with the moon, there's so many entry points, and it really depends on how deep you want to dive in, or if you want to go straight into Moon Goddess and start to really develop your relationship with the feminine from that perspective of all of it, like menstrual cycle charting, listening to the moon meditations, doing the yoga practice that heals, right from the inside out. But I find just first coming to that beginning place of saying, I can have a different relationship with my cycle. I can have a different relationship with how I perceive myself as a woman. And I think that is a really powerful starting point.
Mm-hmm. Is there any way to walk us through a little of the meditation that you offer for the lunar meditations?
Sure. So I'm just going to invite you to close your eyes and start to take some deep breaths in and out. And as you do, letting your body settle back into the support of wherever you're sitting or lying down. And you can place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. And just breathe. And as you breathe, feel yourself softening, letting go deeper and deeper into the support beneath you and into the comfort of your hands. One hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. Softening into the comfort and soothing of that embrace. And start to imagine yourself under a beautiful night sky, enveloped in the darkness of the night. And it comes with a feeling of deep stillness and quiet, like the dark of the moon. There's darkness inside. As your period flows, there's a letting go. What might you release right now with your exhale? Let it go. Even just a little bit. And in that release, as the night starts to break into day, the dawning of the sun. Like the crescent moon, our energy begins to increase, like waking up in the morning. There's a sense of newness and possibility that awaits. Just feel that excitement inside, like a tingling in your ovaries, the potential of new life. And as the day progresses and the sun shines brightly, like the full moon shining bright in the night sky, your day and your life, your belly and your body are pregnant with possibility. Just like the time of ovulation, full creative potential of life. Feel that potential like the full moon in your belly. And as the day continues into evening and dusk, as the sky begins to darken, and as our cycle continues on into the premenstrual time, there's a natural exhale, a turning inward, a time to retreat and go home. To come inside and get cozy, to reflect on what happened, and to determine what you're going to take into the rest of your day, to the rest of your week, to the rest of your month, and what you're going to let go of. What serves you and what you no longer need. The premenstrual time and the waning moon offers this opportunity to take stock and to decide what you're going to hold on to and what you want to let go of. Just like what you let go of and slumber as you drift off into sleep, as you ebb and flow into the darkness of menstruation and the next cycle, the darkness of the moon and the darkness of sleep. The time to release and to allow yourself to begin again with the next phase, with the next cycle, the next breath. And when you're ready, slowly feel yourself coming back into the room, noticing where your body is in space, taking a deep breath, and smile. And when you're ready, open your eyes.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome, Sarah.
Okay. And is there any resources you'd like to share with us? Anything that you're loving right now, or books or websites or apps, anything that you're obsessed with, wanted to share? Probably lots of stuff.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I love and what I encourage my community is to come to our full moon meditations that we do on our Facebook group. And this month, a lot of my work has been inspired by Miranda Gray. And Miranda Gray is the originator of the worldwide womb blessing. And the inspiration, like I said, behind a lot of my teachings. The first book I read from her is The Red Moon, which is an incredible book that I still recommend. And we will be tuning into the worldwide womb blessing together on December 22nd. And we all connect globally. There's 200,000 women who participate worldwide. And Miranda basically, and moon mothers, so I'm also a certified moon mother with Miranda. So I don't remember, there's a few hundred moon mothers around the world, and we all hold energy for the worldwide womb blessing and circles all over the world. And mine is a virtual circle on Facebook. So you can join the Yoga Goddess support circle on Facebook if you want to join us virtually. And you also would register with Miranda Gray directly, and the registration closes like 24 hours before, so it's important. And she's in the UK, so it's important that you register beforehand. And we take you through a series of meditations to connect with your womb. And it's beautiful because as the womb vibration of any woman changes, it affects all women. That's part of the teachings that Miranda shares. And so the worldwide womb blessing is literally changing the wombs of the world and the womb of Mother Earth. So it's something I highly recommend.
Yeah, I came across it just a little while ago. Yeah, that's neat. And so this will be airing in the new year, obviously. So then is this going monthly then? Is that how it works?
It's monthly, yeah. So in the new year, I don't remember the date offhand that we'll be doing the full moon meditation, but we do it every month, and the worldwide womb blessing happens 5 times a year.
Very nice. Very nice. Awesome. So you have got a free gift in here for the listeners. So discover 5 essential steps to heal unexplained infertility and relax into the miracle of conception with Yoga Goddess's free video and ebook, and Fertility Secrets of the Female Body. So what can they expect in that?
So we'll dive deeper into what I believe are the causes of unexplained infertility, which is, where most of my clients end up coming from that diagnosis. Of course, any diagnosis like PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, menstrual cycles related stuff is also addressed when we look at our connection with the feminine, which I've touched on, through our talk today. But in terms of what you can expect in Fertility Secrets is I take you through what I think are the 5 steps. So the first step is redefining your relationship with your menstrual cycle and thinking back to when you first got your period and how you were introduced to menstruation, deciding how you want to redefine that relationship, step 1. Step 2 is realizing your cycle is more than just ovulation and your period. So really embracing all 4 phases. Step 3 is understanding how yoga and meditation can change your relationship with your body and the feminine and affect your fertility in a really profound way. And that was step 4. So step 3 is if you've had miscarriages or years of infertility, how do you effectively grieve those losses so that you can, it's not about getting over it, but it's getting through it. And I think that's an important distinction when it comes to being on the fertility journey. And then I said step 4 already, which is the yoga and meditation and how that helps with fertility. And then step 5 is bringing the joy back into baby making. It's only 17 pages, but we cover a lot.
Awesome. And they can get that at yogagoddess.ca/fertility-secrets.
Yeah, so or you can go straight to the yogagoddess.ca homepage and you'll see a place to enter your email address and download the video. And
awesome. Awesome. Great. Well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today, sharing your words of wisdom. I love that a lot, the meditation you did there. So definitely take some time if you were listening to this in the car or somewhere, go and take some time and to re-listen to that. And yeah, thanks again for coming on.
Hey there, Sarah Clark here.
So are you struggling to have your baby? First of all, please know that my heart goes out to you. I support couples worldwide who are struggling with infertility to conceive and have healthy babies. Women like Rita, who gave birth to her beautiful daughter after following my fertility coaching system. Or Danielle, who after 2 failed IUIs was able to get pregnant after a supercharger fertility discovery call with me. So here's how you get my help for free. So I offer a free supercharger fertility discovery call, and on that call, I'll create a plan with you that is going to help you fast track your success. So this call is not for everyone, and I'm really picky about who I get to speak with. And I have a strict but totally reasonable criteria that needs to be met in order for us to move forward. So here's who I can help. So first of all, you need to be able to explore your infertility diagnosis in a new light. So this offers for people who are open-minded, they're coachable, and if you can do that and want to double or triple your chances at the fertility clinic or get pregnant, awesome. So let's get on the phone and chat. Also, you must be an action taker. So someone who's committed to seeing results, you're able to follow directions. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to do anything bizarre. But if you're one of those people who like to consume a ton of information, but don't like to spend time implementing and seeing results, then the call's not really for you. So I only want to spend time with people who are genuinely committed to their own success. So just click on the link in the show notes and apply, or go to fabfertile.com and click on the free consult. So it's a really short application that just tells me about your health, how long you've been trying to conceive, and how soon you'd like to be pregnant. So seriously, this is going to be the best time you've ever spent on your fertility. Looking forward to chatting. Talk soon. Thank you for listening to Get Pregnant Naturally. Seriously, it means the world to me that you're here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can be notified of upcoming episodes. I'm excited to offer you a special gift. If you're a U.S. resident, text FERTILE to 345-345. You'll be prompted to enter your email address and you'll receive our fertility yoga download. In this 20-minute intro video, we focus on a calming and peaceful practice to connect back to your heart. These simple fertility yoga poses can help quiet negative thoughts and make you feel more in control. Download it now and get started today. So for U.S. residents, text FERTILE, FERTILE, to 345-345. For non-U.S. residents, go to www.yogafreebie.com to access your special gift. That's www.yogafreebie.com to access the free fertility yoga download. And I love this quote by Dr. Mark Hyman, Medical Director of the Cleveland Clinic Center for Functional Medicine and Chairman of the Institute for Functional Medicine. Functional medicine is medicine by cause, not by symptom. Functional medicine practitioners don't in fact treat disease. We treat your body's ecosystem. We get rid of the bad stuff, put in the good stuff, and because your body is an intelligent system, it does the rest. Thanks for listening. Until next time.